some people say, well, why would God put that there? Why would God tempt them like that? Why would God set them, why would God torture them like that? Why would he put the tree, the good and evil right there with them? You know, off the cuff, what I think. It's the same reason why God gives you option to do good and evil. That's a 7. He gives you free will. And how we know what your free will is until you got some temptations. Anybody can serve God when ain't nothing sinful around. So the knowledge of the good, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was to produce a true energy of choosing to serve God. That's a 7 out. Because God didn't have to do that. But how we know you serve God? So after that happened, then came the commandments. And then you can say, you perceive it as religion. So you see what happened? Man sinned and then had to be told what to do, and you perceive that as religion. That's a 7 out. Boy, that's good. That's real good. Man sinned, listening to his counterpart, listening to his woman. Men, take heed. You got to follow God. How many men of God fell off because they would listen to the woman? You got to follow God, big baby. Man sinned, listening to his woman, and then he had to be told what to do, and you call that modern day religion. See, Christians, you need to see. This is why you got to know your word for real. You think you know the word. Why you ain't able to explain that part like I just did? Before Adam partook of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, before that, there was no commandments. There was no sanctuary. There was no mosque. There was no church attendance. That's a 7 right there. Boom. There wasn't no church attendance. It wasn't no churches. That's what y'all call them here in America, a church. It's really a sanctuary. The body of Christ is the church. The Christians are the church. We literally, that term is for us. It describes us, who we are. Americans start calling the sanctuary or the temple the church. It's an informal thing that caught on here in America. Now you say go to church. How you go to church and you are the church? See, you allowed American culture to influence you right there. That's a 7 out. Well, you got the Americans got you talking about the church like you ignorant, like you don't know you the church. Like you going to church, but you the church yourself. You got them, you walking around ignorant. And you done created a slang among yourselves. That's a 7. Again, before man sinned, he didn't have a per se what you perceive to be a religion. It was just him, God, everything was provided. And here's the punchline for all you workaholics. Man didn't have to work in the beginning. Now, ain't that paradise? God created man, and man didn't have to work. Well, think about it. If God made me, why I got to go out and do something? Oh, boy, that's good. That's good. I can run around this whole apartment. God is all sufficient. He got everything. why I need to go out and work. And some of you fight it. You don't like working. You don't like working. You just influenced by American culture to tell you you ain't no man if you ain't working. And you don't like it a bit more than I do. But you ain't gonna, it's your little secret. It's your little dirty secret that you really don't like to work, but you ain't lazy. That's a 7 hour. It's your little dirty secret that you can't stand going to work. Huh? You don't like it one bit. But you don't want nobody to perceive you as lazy. But you know what? If you actually dealt with that feeling, then you will come to the knowledge of why you feel that way. That's a 7. Boom. This is what the American culture do to you. It get you all messed up. It got you thinking, oh, God didn't even make you to work. Think about it. Why would he make you to put you to work? Think about it. Think about it. That's kind of cruel. Okay, God creates you, now get to work. You got work to do. Go get you a 9 to 5 somewhere out there. Dang. God made you and put you to work. It don't even make sense, do it? Think about it. He's all sufficient. So why he got to have you go out in the world when he got everything you need? That's a 7. Now you see why you feel the way you feel. I don't like working either. I'd rather serve God. I'd rather spend time with God. Just like it was in the beginning. That's a 7 out. Well, that's all Adam and Eve was doing. Seeking the Lord, spending time with the Lord. This is what I was creating. That's the real original lifestyle. That's a 7. Ooh. That hurt the workaholics, because that's all you got to make you think you a man. That wasn't even part of the plan. In the beginning, man lifestyle was just fellowship with God. Right or wrong, guys? All you preachers, right or wrong? See, I talk to the preachers. You get intimidated. Well, Rev, correct me if I'm wrong. Rev, correct me if I'm wrong. In the beginning, man didn't have no job. Why you talking about if a man don't work, he don't eat? That's a 7 out, boom. Why you talking about man don't work, he don't eat? In the beginning, correct me if I'm wrong. Man was not working. So the original lifestyle of man was what? Working a 9 to 5? Oh, so God just created us and put us to work. Won't you tell the truth that you know? That work is a part of the fall of man. God said you would sweat by what? Your brow. It was part of the repercussions for eating from the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. It was the repercussions from eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That was the repercussions. God didn't say nothing about working. The lifestyle in the beginning was Adam and Eve with each other. How beautiful. It shows you how good God really is. It was paradise. He had the most gorgeous woman in the world. Can you imagine how beautiful Eve was? Wow. So God made a broke down woman in the beginning. Can you imagine how beautiful she was, man? How spunky she probably was? Probably bouncing around in the grass. No attitude. No emotional hang-ups. No American woman attitude. She was just spunky and full of life and wanted to make love all the time and eat apples. She want to eat apples and make love. How you want your woman to be? You want your woman to eat apples and make love. That's all they were doing. That's paradise. He had his woman. He didn't have to work. Boom. And let me tell you something. Here's the punchline. Ask these rich folk what they trying to do. Oh, they done with working, unlike you. And guess what they trying to do? Guess what these rich men trying to do? Have their wife make love and eat apples. Make love and eat apples. That's all he wanted to do. He want her to do. They ain't got to work no more. And basically, they have come back to a form of a likeness of the original plan, which was not working. So you see what happens? Hear this part. When man puts his whole intelligence and his whole being to good use, he comes back to God's original plan and lifestyle, which is to sit with his woman in companionship without working, making love, eating apples. That's a 7. So rich folk, while you down them and say they devilish, guess what? They almost back to the original plan. And you ain't. You still look like Adam when he first sinned. That's a 7. Dusty, out there with no money. No, don't know what to do. You still look like that. That's a 7, Al. And these rich folks, as much as you want to down them and look at them and snarl at them, they live in the lifestyle that God intended us to live, where the man sit around and the woman sit around and they make love and eat apples with no work. Work from the scripture. That's why I love the Bible. I believe in it. Don't you believe? I made you a believer, didn't I? That's a 7. I made you a believer. It makes sense. Why would God create man and put you to work? It doesn't add up. That's why the more I study the Bible, it's the more I believe in it. It went through the hands of man. Of course, it's not perfect. That's a 7. Well, it went through the hands of man. How's it going to be perfect? Anything that goes through the hands of man will not be perfect. You know, they might get sick, leave out a part. Storm comes, take away a couple pages. Well, I meant to put that in there. You don't think they lost some pages? I mean, come on. Maybe they did. And you sitting up here talking about, well, it seems like it's more to it. There should be more to it. Seem like how it seemed like it should be more. Well, you got enough to get by, don't you? You got enough to get by, don't you? It went through the hands of man. What you expect? Stop being an idiot. It went through the hands of man. You know something happened. How many books you done wrote? For all you writers, real writers like me, how many books you done lost? If you ain't lost no book, you ain't no writer. You listen, you don't write enough, buddy, to be considered a writer like us. I have lost books that still pain me to this day. Then when I think about it, more than one. And it's gone forever. Can't get it back. Still pains me a little bit. And you don't think none of that happened to these writers? Come on, man. Talk to a writer. For you atheists and the other people, the skeptical people, go talk to a writer. Get in the head of a writer. Pick the brain of a writer. Ask them how many books they lost. For whatever reason, ask them how many books they lost. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? You got it good. So, now, when it comes to you being, back to what I'm saying, I needed to go there. I needed to take it there. You needed that. Don't you agree you needed that, right? You can't worry about these cultures that's created by man. Now remember, mind you, now we passed all that happened. We sinned as humanity, and now we creating cultures. We done came out on our own, try to do it on our own. Now we done created cultures. God didn't command us to make cultures. That's a 7. Look what your cultures have produced. Foolishness. Look at the American culture. Foolishness. Okay, some good stuff in it. You know, talent. There's some talent in it. You know, but for the bulk of the situation, what kind of men and women has it made? Everyday people, that's what I'm talking about, that are recipients of your culture. What have the Americans become based off your culture? That's a 7. I know. You don't want you don't want to accept the truth. What have they become based off the American culture? What have they become based off the African American culture? What have they become based off the white American culture and all the other cultures of different ethnicities here in America? What have those people from all those different ethnicities, what have they become influenced by their culture? By the time children are even born, I'm talking about while they in the womb, you playing American culture music. Yeah, I want to hear my favorite song by Danny. Yeah, that's my favorite song. I want my son to hear Danny sing that part. So imagine what you're doing when they come out. Oh, you got them jamming to all the stuff you like. You already influencing them from the time they come out, and literally before they come out the womb, you already influencing them with the culture. Literally. You trying to. Right or wrong. When the woman play the music and she's pregnant, she wants an effect. That's a 7. Right or wrong, guys. Might be a little superstitious, but she wants an effect, right? And let me say this before I go any further, because I want to say this before I leave the term religion. Religion, by definition, to me, a religion is any system, a man-made system, trying to get to God other than the true way. I got to say that. A religion is a man-made system trying to get to God, man trying to get to God his own way. You should have knew man was going to do that. I got to do a video on that, though. I got to. I'm going to write that down now. Religion. Man-made system. Man-made system. If you don't get the culture out of you, right, you can't become what God wants you to become. You can't do it. This culture has done nothing but influence us to do evil. For the most part. Let's put it like this, because you think evil is just murder and killing. Evil is anything opposite of God. There's many things that's evil that's not murderous, you know. Yeah, I know you don't know that, do you? You think evil is a horror movie. Well, God looks at your whole culture as a horror movie. How about that? How about that part? It looks like Halloween all around. How about that part? I mean, look at the people. Okay. Culture is what stops the man from becoming spiritually elevated as he need to become. Listen, and see, I'm gonna be talking more and more on this culture situation because see, here's the thing: there's subcultures within the culture. Now you know this. That's a 7. This feels so good. See, when you love information and knowledge, it's pleasurable. Isn't it pleasurable when I'm telling you? It's pleasurable. You naturally as humans, not you should, you as humans, you naturally find pleasure in information and knowledge. If you don't, something's wrong. Something went wrong with you. Something went wrong with how you was raised. If you find no natural pleasure in information and knowledge, okay? But there's subcultures. There's subcultures. And see, this is where it gets tricky because you lose some people here. And some of you need guides. And some of you, I don't want to sound like a mystic. You need leaders. And some of you are super intelligent and you understand that there's the culture and then there's subcultures within the culture. So one of the subcultures, one of the most hazardous subcultures is the working culture. Because as long as you're working, you cannot, which was not a part of God's plans, which I covered, you can't spend the time with God that you need to spend. And that was the plan from the beginning. This was the plan from the beginning. And you can't do it because of the subculture of working. See, to me, you know why money is here? You know why currency is here? Because man got stingy. Man said, I don't want to give you this. You better have something if you want this. Hey, don't you come here empty-handed thinking I'm going to just give you something. That's how humanity was supposed to be. We supposed to have all these resources. Hear this part very closely. That's a 7 already. Ow, I ain't even said it yet. We supposed to be sharing resources with each other without currency. I know. You imagine how beautiful the world would be if we shared everything without currency, without money. You imagine how beautiful the world would be? We had all the resources. If you was a good person, why you got a problem with somebody just getting something? You should want that person to feel pleasure in having something. Shouldn't you? And people who elevate to that way of thinking wind up giving things away. Now, don't they? And they wind up saying stuff like Oprah says, it's better to give than to receive. You should naturally all be just giving to each other. But you got stingy and greedy and envious and jealous. Well, you got a pretty woman. I ain't trying to make you look better. You want these slacks? You want to look good for your woman in these slacks? Your woman look better than mine. You want to look good in these slacks? You got to pay me. I ain't helping you. Why I'm help you? You got a woman that look better than mine. The currency is all about greed. It's not about you should work for it. That's a 7 out. Oh, that's what they tell you. Well, money is here because a man should work and he should learn to get a wage. Well, that wasn't God's plan. I thought God had the best plan. That was not God's plan. And I thought God had the best plan, buddy. Why you got a million philosophies about working and money? That's a 7. Something that wasn't even supposed to be here. That's another 7. Ow. You done made up a whole philosophy on something that don't even supposed to be here. And that's why people crazy. That's a 7 hour. Well, they're willing to do anything and everything for money because you depriving them of stuff that they want. As a human, why would God create you just to not have stuff? Why would he create you to put you to work, like I said earlier? And so man has controlled the world literally through this system of money. That's a 7. Now it makes sense from my point of view. Now you see it differently, right? And this is why we have the problems we have. Because man say, well, I don't want you to have it. And if you're going to have it, I'm going to give you a hard time. And I'm going to give you a hard time by, you better put something in my pocket. Oh, I better get something from it. Because I don't personally like you and don't personally care nothing about you. That's what this world's become. These people that you buy stuff from don't care nothing about you. You can die right outside their store and they could care less. Right or wrong. Might not call the police. Might just sit there. And they sit there and look at you like you better have something. They have no compassion for your need of pleasure in the world and food and things that you need and, things you want to have for your family. They don't care nothing about that. Just don't die outside my store. Get on and don't die outside my store. Hurry up and buy. It ain't just the Asians. Everybody say that. You insinuate it. Hurry up and buy. That's a 7 hour. And that's why the world is in the shape it's in right now. I ain't telling you nothing wrong, am I? Did you just get it all from what I just said? And so you're in all these cultures and entanglements that man made and the way he made it, and it don't make sense that God made man to put him to work. God is all sufficient. Right? Best way to put it. God is all sufficient. So why you got to go to work then? And he put you here. He put you here and you got to go to work. Now, you made up philosophies, bro. You made up philosophies. Well, man should feel good. He feel good when he work. You know what feel better than working and then coming home at the end of the day? I know it do feel good when you work. You get a little money. You can drink a cool beverage when you get home, and you can sit and relax and look at the fruit of your labors, right? You know what feel better than that? And you know what your culture has kept you from feeling this way, because many of them are taskmasters and they want you to work for them. So they had to create a subculture to make you feel like you had to work. That's a 7. You know what's better than the rewards of fruits? The fruits of your labor. You know what's better than that? Sitting up in paradise, not having to work, making love with your woman, eating apples. Boom. That's better. Oh, yeah, it's better. Go ask these rich folks. What's better? Working and busting your butt, coming home, having a cool beverage, let your woman see you the breadwinner. Feels good, right? But ask the rich folks what's feel better. Your woman having no work schedule, you and her not having to work, sitting around making love, eating apples all day. Ask him which one feel better. And this is the way God made the world. And that's why many of you ain't lazy, especially you Christians. You're not lazy. You feel that it's beneath you. Oh, I know. Did they tell you you don't supposed to say that? That's against the rules, right? You feel like working is beneath you. And let me help you with something. Let me say something else. Many of you also feel, I done worked enough. If you ain't never said that, you ain't worked hard. That's a 7 out. Oh, you ain't never said to yourself, man, I think I done worked enough. And you just getting started. I done worked enough to not work no more. You're basically saying, I done worked enough to where I shouldn't have to do nothing no more. I should be retired. Hey, I done worked enough. I should be retired early. But you can't retire early, can you? That's what I'm saying. And how you like that? How you feel about it? After you already concluded that you shouldn't have to work no more because you've worked enough, your soul feels that you've labored enough. Your soul feels it. Your mind feels it. Your heart feels you've worked enough. You got out here in the cold, rain, sun, and shine, trying to please these CEOs and boss men and boss women. And you still feel empty inside, don't you? After all you've done, all your hard work. And you conclude for yourself, well, hey, I think I've done enough. This show should be over. And you know what? Many of us that feel that way are Christians because we've elevated. First of all, we know the stuff that I'm talking about, which in the beginning we wasn't working. A lot of Americans don't. You don't know that. You don't know that. You don't know that's in there. You don't know that's in there. That we were not working in the beginning and God was cool with it. I'm putting